Thanks for joining us from McAllister Fieldhouse in Charleston, South Carolina with head coach Chuck Driesell. I'm Mike Legg. It's the first edition of our show for the 2014-2015 season, the Chuck Driesell Show. And so, Coach, here we are after 7 ball games. Just wanted to talk to you a little bit about where you think your ball club is right now, where you're performing, where you want to be performing, and some areas that you'd like to improve upon, perhaps.
Well, it is December 3rd, and the month of November flew by, and we went into this season really wanting to be a better defensive team, like a lot of teams across the country do, and we've put a big emphasis upon that. Part of that defensive philosophy is rebounding. We struggled in that area tremendously last year for a lot of reasons, but we felt like if we put guys in the right position, kept everybody healthy, worked really hard in the off-season on our strength and conditioning, really made an emphasis on it and got guys to believe they could rebound with anybody in the country and be physical and be tough, that we could get off to a good start in that area. And we have. We've gone up against some pretty big teams. We've gone up against teams that are like ourselves, and we've done pretty well in that category. We've had some struggles. But I'd say overall that area has vastly improved, which will also improve our overall defense. And I like where we are in that area. We spend a lot of time every day in practice talking, working on the fundamentals of defense and rebounding, and to see it get better on the court is not just pleasing to me and my staff, but it's starting to be something that our guys are taking a lot of pride in. And anybody, any coach and anybody that follows basketball knows that if you're going to be a good defensive team, you got to take pride in that part of the game. And our guys are starting to do that. So I'm real pleased with that area right there. Then you look at the offensive end, and we're doing a good job of getting the guys that we want to shoot the ball where they're best suited to make shots on the court better this year than I think we have in the past. Our shooting percentage isn't where we want it to be right now, and I think it'll get better as we continue to go along in the season. At least I hope it does. That'll make us a really tough team to play against. But we're getting the shots we want right now. We're learning where that is. Each young man is learning his role, and I like the way the ball is moving. It's not getting stuck as much as maybe it has in the past, and I think our percentage will increase as we get along in the season.
So many things go hand in hand. Defense, offense, obviously two of those things. You play better defense, you don't have to shoot it as well on a given night. You've had teams that you played so far this year where they have not had great shooting nights, and it doesn't put as much pressure on you offensively if things are clicking. And then I guess vice versa, things kind of play that way too.
Yeah, you've got to be consistent as well as you can, But there's going to be droughts offensively. There's going to be times defensively where you break down. What you don't want is long periods of time. We always talk about in the huddle, let's get 3 stops in a row. When you're getting 3 stops in a row, that means your defense is solid on a consistent basis. That's hard to do, yeah. But that is something that we focus on. Offensively, we don't want to go 3 or 4 possessions and not at least get to the free throw line or get a foul or get a bucket. That has happened, believe it or not, more often than not getting 3 stops in a row on the defensive end. So again, this whole first month, these 7 games, is about really getting the guys to be good on both ends of the court, take a lot of pride in their defense, and I think we're doing that. They're starting to really feel for that, and then again, knock down shots when they're open with the right guys getting the right shots at the right spots on the floor.
You're blessed this year to have senior leadership on your ball club. Now you just have 3 technical seniors, but if you're going to pick a place to have 2 good seniors, guards would be a pretty good place to do that. And so with Harris and Moore, you've got 2 guys that can lead for you more than maybe some of the other guys out on the floor.
There's no doubt, and people who have watched us play this year, I think, in years in the past, and have watched the development of Marshall and Ashton, see a big difference. Confidence, leadership, experience, those things come into play, and they're so important when you've got seniors on your team, because that's a big part of the game. Confidence, understanding what's going on in the game, not being intimidated by a different arena or a different opponent, and just getting in the gym and playing consistently. And that's what you get from seniors. And we've got P.J. Horgan, who's doing a great job inside for us and rebounding and scoring. But it's more than just on the court. It's in the locker room. It's on the bench. It's on the bus. It's in the hotel. You know, it carries over in a lot of different areas that the common person who just watches the game doesn't know about, that senior leadership brings.
And you have a balance. Not all coaches have this sort of a balance, but you have about the same number of seniors as juniors and sophomores and freshmen, and so you've got that balance for guys to take on different roles. And so a little bit about the seniors we talked about so far, but then juniors, I mean, take C.J. Bray, for example. He's someone that in the College of Charleston game earned a start. And had not started since sometime maybe in March last year. And so he's kind of shifted into that role. Looked like in that particular case that he was well suited for that spot.
Yeah, I mean, CJ's battled a lot of injuries. It's been a tough couple years for him. In fact, he got a year back. That's why he's a redshirt junior. And now I think people are starting to see, and certainly us, because that's why we started him, and he played so well. He's really coming into his own. You know, he's really figuring out what his strengths and his weaknesses are. He's getting an understanding of the basketball game. He's getting in shape. He's getting stronger. We need him to continue to do that. He played very well in his last game, and he played well in the games prior to that. You know, that wasn't just all of a sudden that something happened. He's been working extremely hard. He's got the leadership. He's got the maturity. He's got the confidence, and so now we're starting to see that in his production on the court.
Earlier, you were mentioning something about, you know, whether you're playing at home, playing on the road with the, you know, different arenas, whatever the case may be, almost treating those in a similar fashion. I think two of the games that I've seen so far that have been impressive in terms of the way you played in an area where maybe it would be easy not to play well, Florida State, College of Charleston, a couple of places that that teams have shrunk before. Not just your teams, but teams in general, and your teams played some of their better games in those two arenas.
Well, and that's encouraging because that's going to help us as we continue in the season. Those are two teams in very good conferences, and you know, as you saw, they're men out there. They're big, they're strong, they're long, they're athletic, and our guys didn't back down, and that says a lot about who they are and where we are this season. Again, I go back to senior leadership. Many of them have already faced those types of opponents in those types of venues throughout their career, so it wasn't something new to them. Our freshmen and sophomores still trying to get used to that, but they've all collectively as a group approached those games in a very professional and confident manner, which hasn't been the case in a lot of times in the past several years because of their youth. However, if we don't take that and use that as a stepping stone, then we won't get anything out of that game. So I think our guys understand that. They're going to, and when we get in those situations again, they'll be able to perform.
The Bulldogs have a couple of really tough opponents non-conference coming up, but then league play will begin actually on the 11th of December when Chattanooga comes in town. The league schedule is broken up just a little bit. You get into it, then you get back out of it a little bit, but wanted to talk a little bit about the schedule and about who you have coming up. Obviously, Virginia Tech, Michigan State will present their own unique challenges, but what about the Southern Conference in 2014-2015?
Gosh, Mike, I don't know. I haven't really started thinking about it too much. You know, I always try to talk to my players, and I buy into it as well. The next game is the most important game, and that game, regardless of what happens, as long as we approach it in the right direction, it will prepare us for the next game, and then eventually, as you said, get into the Southern Conference. You know, those other teams in the Southern Conference trying to do the same thing we're doing, trying to figure out where they're at, who they're going to play, what defense is the best, what offense is the best, and so what you might see in a Southern Conference team right now, they may not be that same team come January, February when we get into the league. What we're all striving for, particularly, I know that's what me and my staff are trying to do, is to be playing really good basketball come late January, early February. Be clicking on all cylinders, guys knowing their roles, guys understanding what we're trying to do, picking up scouting reports, knowing what their opponent is, and being able to make slight to minor adjustments as game to game comes. That's where you win basketball games, and that's where, again, senior leadership, juniors, which we have this year, can really help in preparing for our next opponent. Our next opponent is Navy on Saturday right here, and that's the most important game.
Exactly. Now, how hard is it to keep everyone focused in that direction, though? I know, you refer to kind of doing things at a very micro level, drill it way down and deal with it there. But is that a challenge? Is that something that is one of your bigger challenges, is to keep everybody rowing in that same direction at that same speed?
Well, it is if you're a young team, because it's something new to them. It's not. It's an adjustment coming from high school or whatever situation they came from. But as you get a more mature team, it becomes easier and easier, because the older players get the younger players to lock in and get them to understand how this works, and so it becomes less of a distraction, so to speak, and you can just focus on what you're trying to do and get prepared for that opponent.
One thing we definitely wanted to discuss was within the last couple of weeks, as we shoot this today, you had a 4-person signing class that you're going to bring in to be here next season. So wanted to talk about the people that you signed and the needs that you feel like they address.
Yeah, we're finally getting our 4 classes leveled out. My first year here, I had 8 seniors, and so I brought in 8 freshmen, and to get it to where you're like 4-4-3-4, or 4-4-3-3, or what, you've got to break those freshman, sophomore, junior classes down. It takes some time, obviously. We're at that point. It's taken a couple of years, and so we brought in a 4-man recruiting class that we feel fit and address the needs that we wanted to improve in. One of the areas was on the perimeter: 3-point shooting, ball handling, passing, vision, running the offense, being comfortable with the ball. Matt Frierson and Trevor Jane are 2 young men that can come in here and really shoot the ball at the college level. That's going to be big for us. Both of them have a good feel for the game. They can handle the ball. They have good vision, so they'll be able to put the ball on the floor at this level with this type of pressure. We also wanted to increase our rebounding and our defense in the post. James Pato and Zane Nawaja are 2 young men, one 6'9", one 6'7", but what I like both about them is their toughness and their motor. They have a high motor. They play hard all the time. They're very good around the basket. They're not afraid of contact. They like to bang, and so they're going to help us immediately in the paint on rebounding and scoring around the basket, which is something, we're going to lose. PJ Horgan is something that we're going to need to continue to have and build upon.
I'm glad you brought PJ back up, because it looks, I see things statistically from previous seasons, but I see that young man as having what I think at the end of the year might be defined as a breakout season, where you might average 5-6 points a ball game, and then all of a sudden you jump to 15, and then you're getting 8 rebounds a ball game. And so, can you talk about his development a little bit? I mean, and yes, it will be the last season that you do get to work with him, but I think he's going to be a big key as the season goes along.
Yeah, he like CJ has had some tough seasons. He's had injuries every year. Not one year has really been clean and fluid for him. He's a young man that works extremely hard and has gotten himself into great condition, and that's going to be huge for him. And right now he's playing injury-free. He's playing loose. He's playing confident. He's really developed his inside game, where he's got a nice touch around the basket. His footwork and his athleticism has increased. Slowly, but it has increased to the point where he's much quicker off the floor. He's first to the ball, which is going to be great for his rebounding and for us. I like his overall toughness, and as long as he stays healthy, I think you're right. He could jump his numbers at any given time just because of his work ethic.
Coach mentioned that the next game is the most important game. It certainly is, and that will be the Battle of the Blues on Saturday, and a 1 o'clock game here at McAllister Fieldhouse against the Midshipmen of Navy. Little preview about them, Coach?
Well, you know, they're a like opponent. They're not a rival of ours, although there is some rivalry there because we're such similar institutions, and it's going to be fun coming in here and having them in here. I hope we have a great crowd. I hope our fans come out, our students come out. It'll be a great venue. They're a tough basketball team. They play hard, they scrap, they fight, as you would think any military school would do. And they're going to come in here, they execute. Offensively, we're going to have to really be on our toes, keep them off the glass. They're a very good rebounding team. They'll get out and run. We're going to have to be good on both ends of the court in order to get the win.
So we hope to see you here at McAllister Fieldhouse for the Navy Midshipmen and the Citadel Bulldogs in a 1 o'clock ball game. And for Coach Chuck Driesell, I'm Mike Legg. Thank you so much for joining us on the Coach Chuck Driesell Show, and we'll see you again next time.
YP.com is your local go-to. Hungry? YP.com lets you search the best local restaurants from Greek food to seafood. And with searchable coupons, you'll find amazing deals on delicious meals. Search local, find local, save local, YP.com.